Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be talking about how you can find motivation on those days when you wake up and you just can't. And make sure you stick around for tip number 5. This is one of the most helpful productivity tips I've ever used. And if I'm being honest, when I started implementing this productivity tip on a regular basis, I literally 10x'd the amount of work I was getting done in a day. So make sure you hang around for tip number 5. All right, so we've all been there. When you wake up and you have one of those days where you feel like you just can't. And it's not even necessarily that you're sick or even that you're tired. You just feel completely unmotivated to actually get up and get the things done that you had planned for that day. So when you wake up feeling this way, you have a couple different options, right? So you can stay in bed, you can turn on Netflix, and you can get sucked into the vortex that is online streaming for your entire day. And all of a sudden, you come out of this fog and it's 5, 6 p.m. and you don't even know where your day went. Or the other option is that you can completely ignore how you're feeling. You can ignore potentially being sick, ignore the potential rest that your body really needs, ignore how you are feeling, and just force your way into a hopefully semi-productive day, or let's be honest, odds are a very unproductive day. But there has to be another way, right? There has to be a way to honor how you're feeling while also shifting out of this yucky feeling space into a more positive, productive place. There has to be a way that allows you to just do a few key things that help you completely shift your energy so that you don't want to just stay in bed and Netflix all day, but can actually get up and get a few things done and have a much more productive day than you would have otherwise had. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. How to shift out of that yucky, I just can't place and shift into a more positive, motivated, productive place to actually have a really good day. So first, let's talk about the reality of the world that we live in. I like to look at life as a 50-50 split. Good, bad, lack and abundance, exhilarated and exhausted, right? So life is a 50-50 split. But the problem is we don't live in a society that honors this 50-50 reality. There is an expectation that you show up 100% of the time at 100% capacity. And that just isn't realistic because you are a human. None of us can operate at 100% capacity 100% of the time. We all have off days. We all have dips in energy. We all work in cycles. There's just no way to show up 100% of the time at 100% capacity. Yet that is what society expects of us. You know, I wonder how many of us honestly take the time to just witness ourselves having a human experience, to just sit there and witness yourself feeling on the other side, on the more negative side of that 50-50 split. The thing is you can feel really crappy and still feel compassion for yourself at the same time. So when you wake up having one of these off days, you can wake up and say to yourself, oh my gosh, I'm feeling off. This is terrible. I'm not going to get anything done. Everything's going to fall apart. All of my work is going to go up in flames. And you could just bury yourself under pressure and overwhelm and guilt and shame. Or you can wake up and simply say, all right, today I feel off. I'm going to allow myself to be a human. I'm going to take care of myself and get the things done that I can and nothing more. You can simply allow yourself to be human and show yourself a little bit of compassion. All right, so we're going to touch on one quick concept before we dig into my 6 tips. And this concept is really, really powerful. It is the idea of meaning. So let me explain what I mean by meaning. So there is pure experience. There are things that are happening in your life, right? So there's experience, there's the things that are happening, and then there is what you make it mean. And those are two very different things. So there's what's happening, and then there's what you make it mean. So when you wake up having one of these days where you feel off, you can actually make it better or worse depending on the meaning you apply to your experience. So you can wake up and just view feeling off as a human experience, Or you can choose to wallow in it and spiral, thinking about how awful feeling off is going to make your day and how you're not going to get anything done and how unmotivated and unproductive your day is going to be. By simply choosing what you make the feeling mean when you wake up, you can actually make it drastically better or worse. So when you wake up having one of these off days, before you dive into the 6 tips I'm about to share with you, simply ask yourself, what am I making this mean? And is the meaning I'm making actually making this situation worse? Remember, when you wake up feeling off, it can simply be that you're having a human moment, a human experience, or it can mean that your entire life is falling apart. But that really just depends on you. It depends what meaning you choose to apply to the feeling you feel when you wake up, to the experience you're having. So remember this. Think about the meaning you're applying to things, and this applies to your entire life. You can make something so much better or so much worse by simply taking that experience and choosing the meaning you apply to it. All right, so now let's move into my 6 tips for getting motivated when you wake up and you just can't. Now, the first thing you want to do when you wake up in one of these moods is to take a moment to make sure that you are in fact not sick, burnt out, or just completely exhausted. So when you wake up in one of these moods, it's really easy to just stay in bed and wallow in your misery and completely ignore what your body is actually trying to tell you in that moment. So my first tip is to get up and get moving so that you can see how your body is honestly feeling. So if it's possible, I suggest getting up and getting outside for some really gentle movement. So take your dog for a walk, go for a stroll around the neighborhood, nothing intense. Do not force yourself into an intense workout when you're already feeling off. Just get outside, breathe some fresh air, get in the sun, and just gently move your body and see how you're feeling. You know, sometimes I like to put in headphones, listen to a podcast to really pull myself out of a negative headspace and really give myself something else to focus on. Now, this is usually a pretty good indicator of how you're actually feeling, because if you are honestly sick, going for just a walk around your neighborhood is gonna feel terrible, right? It's gonna completely exhaust you, or you're gonna just feel completely terrible, like you wanna get back in bed. So you're gonna know pretty quick whether you're just feeling off or whether you're actually sick and need to honor your body and get back in bed and rest and heal. And let me tell you, the longer you put off giving your body the rest it desperately needs, the worse it's going to get. So number 1, get up, get moving, and get an honest take on how your body is really feeling. And if you're honestly sick, honor that and get back in bed. All right, tip number 2. If you've gone through tip number 1 and you realize, all right, I'm not sick, I'm just feeling blah, then the next step is to get in the shower and get ready. Take a nice, long, relaxing shower, do your hair, your makeup, put on an outfit that makes you feel put together. And let me tell you, I'm not telling you you have to put on real clothes. You will rarely ever see me not in leggings. But there's a difference between staying in your pajamas all day and getting up, showering, and putting on a fresh outfit that makes you feel clean, awake, and put together. Never underestimate the power of getting ready. Sometimes when you're in a funk, all you really need is a shower, do your hair, put on some makeup, put on your favorite I'm going to get coffee outfit, and it can snap you out of that negative space a lot faster than you thought. All right, so tip number 3 is to clean up your physical space. Now, this has multiple benefits. First off, cleaning up your physical space allows you to accomplish something, and therefore you already are getting a positive, productive result with your day. So when you wake up feeling like you're not going to accomplish anything, like you're not going to get anything done, when you clean up your physical space, you do accomplish something. You get a result, and that can have a massive impact on your mood. Now, also, if you just let your brain be when you're in one of these funks, it will just spiral out of control. But if you give your brain something to focus on, a task, a simple task to focus on, it can pull you out of that negative mental space and really focus you in on a positive, productive task. So you feel the positive effects of accomplishment, you're pulling your brain out of a negative space, and you also get to enjoy the really positive feeling of just living in a more clean space. All right, so let's move on to tip number 4, and that is to change up your scenery. So if you've gotten up, you've moved your body, you've gotten ready, you've cleaned up your space, and you're still not feeling it, then I really suggest to switch up your scenery. Now, this might apply more for those of you who work for yourself, but honestly, this can apply for if you work in an office space as well. You know, we get bored just looking at the same four walls all the time. So switching up your scenery can really be a great way to kind of shake yourself out of a funk and to jumpstart your motivation and productivity. So like I said, whether you work for yourself or you work in an office space, try changing up your scenery. Go to your favorite coffee shop, go to a friend's house and co-work. Go to a different space where you can still get work done, but that just gives you a different atmosphere to be in. You know, I can say from personal experience, like I said, we get used to the same four walls that we're surrounded by. And working for myself, you know, days can go by where I've realized I've been in the same space doing the same work and it can just feel really dull. And you know, I have to sometimes snap myself out of it and be like, Kate, you haven't left the house in 4 days. We need to get out of the house. And sometimes it's not even till I leave that I realize how much of a funk I was in, and changing up my scenery has such a massive impact on my mood, my productivity, my motivation, and just being in the energy of a different space. Changing up what you're looking at when you're working can just massively, massively propel you into a whole different space and snap you out of any negative state that you're in. All right, so tip number 5, and like I promised, this is one of my favorite productivity hacks. And honestly, when I started using this on a regular basis, like I said in the beginning of this video, I literally 10x the amount that I was getting done in a day. This simple hack is massively transformative. And it may sound too simple at first, but I promise you, give it a try and it is gonna change everything for you. And I use this exercise almost daily, regardless of how I'm feeling, because our brain rarely wants to do anything. And it's not because we're lazy, it's a defense mechanism. See, given the choice, your brain will always choose to stay in bed and watch TV. Because if you're just Netflixing in bed, you're safe. You're not having to do anything challenging. You're not gonna have to do anything difficult. You're not confronting any criticism. You are safe, you are secure, and that's what your brain wants. So it helps to have some tactics in place to kind of deal with this inevitable psych out that your brain's going to attempt every day. All right, so this productivity tip is to just give it 10 minutes. That's right, just give it 10 minutes. Let me explain what I mean by this. So what I do is I simply pick the first task on my to-do list and I start doing it for 10 minutes. Now, if after 10 minutes I'm flowing and I'm being productive, I keep going. But if after 10 minutes I have just been staring at a blank screen, I am exhausted, I'm not getting anything done, then I walk away. I take a break. And that's it. That's really it. To just give it 10 minutes. You know, so often the problem isn't that the task on your to-do list is too hard. It's just that you don't want to get started. So by approaching the tasks on your to-do list with just 10 minutes, it kind of takes away the pressure, it takes away the anxiety. You're no longer thinking about how this task is going to take you 3 hours and it's going to be so hard and that's so long, which prevents you from even getting started. All you're focusing on is simply starting a task for 10 minutes. That's it. It takes away the pressure, it takes away the anxiety, and it gives you a point of entry to actually begin. Like I said, it's so often not the fact that the things on our to-do list are hard, it's just that we don't want to actually get started. Getting started is the hardest part, so just give it 10 minutes. Now, when you're doing this exercise, you can set a timer or not. I usually don't because it is more often that 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes go by without me even realizing it. Because 10 minutes is all I need to either get into a flow of doing a task or just having to scrap it all together. So you can set a timer if you want, or you don't have to. You can also play up with the amount of time. You can do 5 minutes if you prefer, or you can do 15 if you feel like you need a little bit longer. I've just found over the years that 10 minutes seems to be that sweet spot for me, where it's just enough time that it helps me start a task and gain a little bit of traction that typically I can then just keep going with it. So remember, the point of this exercise is to just start with no pressure, and you might get into a flow faster than you ever realized. Tip number 6, my final tip, is to just take a nap, to reset your body, or even to just go to bed early altogether. Put today away and just wake up fresh tomorrow. You know, so often it is so easy to just want to, drink after a hard day like this, or binge TV or binge food, right? We seek these things of comfort that make us feel better about the crappy day we had. But in all honesty, those aren't gonna fix anything. They're not gonna fix today, and they're not gonna give you a better tomorrow. So sometimes the best thing you can do when you've tried everything on this list and you're just still not finding a place of being productive is to just go back to bed. Now, if it's the middle of the day and you're not ready to go to bed for the night yet, 30-minute power nap can be so powerful. Sleep is the best way to hit your internal reset button. Sleeping resets you physically, emotionally, mentally. When you wake up from even just a short 30-minute nap, you can be in a completely different headspace than you were before you went to sleep. Do not underestimate the power of sleeping. The same thing can be said for just going to bed early, right? Getting a few extra hours of sleep might help you get the extra rest your body's really craving, so that then the next day you can wake up feeling completely refreshed, and that funk you were feeling in the previous day is completely gone. So remember, sleep is one of the best ways to reset your body, your mind, your motivation, and your productivity. All right, so the next time you wake up feeling like you just can't for the day, then run through this list. Get up, get moving, get ready, clean up your space, change up your scenery, just give it 10 minutes. And when all else fails, make yourself a hot cup of tea, close the blinds, and get some sleep. Because nothing resets your inevitable humanness like a good night's rest. All right, guys, I will see you all next time.